Once I had my child, it completely changed. It went from this not knowing a cycle to a cycle that lasted a really long time. I could bleed for 2 weeks. My bleeding was really heavy.
Mhm.
And I would find myself in the ER, and the doctor's answers was always have a hysterectomy. That's when I went back to going, what am I doing with my eating? Can I control this? Can I take back my health, my life? And by doing that, fermentation became my answer.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I am so glad you are here today because we are going to be talking about guts and poop. I have an amazing guest with me today, Michelle Heberling, and she is a fermentation expert, and she loves talking about all things microbiome. She has gone through an incredible personal journey of challenges with her cycles as well as her digestive system, and she shares a little bit about her journey. But what I love the most about Michelle is her passion for reestablishing our connection to the food that we eat. You know, it is such an important relationship that we have with food. And when we get our hands dirty, get into the entire process of our food, we suddenly have a completely different relationship with it. She has so much incredible information about our guts, about how fermented food can help you improve everything from allergies to reproductive challenges and joint issues, and of course, digestive issues, but also just how it feels to slow down in your body and realize that we do not have to be go, go, go all the time, and how that impacts our overall health. So, we're going to be here for an hour. Make sure you grab a pen and a piece of paper and take some notes because there's some really important key pieces that she's going to be sharing with you today. So go ahead and settle in, and we're going to chat for the next hour with Michelle Heberling. Welcome to the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Ray Kovacs, a registered nurse and reflector in human design on a sole mission to help women like you rise from life's ashes with abundant energy, purpose, and joy. Each week, we'll meet at the intersection of science, soul, and storytelling as we create a bridge between holistic women's health, the sacred feminine, and cyclical wisdom. You'll get tools and insights from experts and guests, helping you to thrive in every area of your life. So go ahead and pull up a chair, grab your favorite crystal or cup of tea, and let's rise like phoenixes together. Well, welcome being here so early.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here, Michelle.
I'm happy to be here, Corey.
So I love asking people about their menstrual cycles and how that is showing up in their lives, whether they have regular cycles, irregular cycles, or if they're past their cycle time. I would love to know, where are you in your cyclical journey right now?
Well, I will tell you, growing up, I had the easiest cycle on the planet.
Wow.
Super easy. It was like, oh, it's my time. Okay. 3 days, boom, start to finish, done.
Wow.
And then I had my child.
Mm.
And then once I had my child, it completely changed. It went from this not knowing a cycle to a cycle that lasted a really long time. We're talking, I could bleed for 2 weeks, easy. And then, and that happened for 10 years. But the last 5 years of that 10-year, my bleeding was really heavy.
Mhm.
So heavy that it was called hemorrhaging. And I would find myself in the ER, and we would be doing DNCs and ablations all the time. And because I didn't really know what was going on, and the doctor's answers was always have a hysterectomy. Just have a hysterectomy. I'm terrified of surgeries. I don't do surgeries. So that was not my answer. But it kept happening. You know, they checked the what is it called? Poplus or something? The little polyps.
Polyps. Yeah,
Yeah, I
check
would
for
have
polyps.
polyps, but
Mhm.
the shedding of the lining was so severe, and it was depleting me from a iron. I was anemic for 10 years, and nobody told me or communicated how important it was to get that back in check. You'd have your
Mhm.
doctors go, "Oh, just take iron pills." And you're like, "Okay." Um, so and then over those last 5 years, what happened because my system was so depleted of nutrients because of all I even had a blood transfusion because I lost so much blood.
Yeah, not
So,
surprising.
um, and and I knew I would have a good week of the month, and then I'd have 2 bad weeks of the month, and then I'd have a good week on my 4th week was good. So my life revolved around what I did in 1st week and 4th week. That's
Mhm.
how I lived
Mm.
because there was nothing the fear of bleeding out when you're out in public was just horrific, and, um, the whole experience was a total nightmare, and I kept telling my doctors, "No, I think the change is coming. I don't need a hysterectomy, I think the change is coming." And Corey, I don't think I did the right thing for myself. And I don't think I had the right doctors to help me with it. And I don't think I'd had any information to know what was right or wrong. And so what happened was then I found myself, I had a tooth infection, found myself in the hospital in preceptus because my body could not function properly because it was already fighting with uh, depletion of blood. People would say, "Hey, do you wanna give blood?" I'm like, "No, I need it."
I need
Um,
it. Yeah.
so I was in the hospital for a week for that. I went on a backpacking trip with my son, and I tore
Mm.
my root meniscus,
Mhm.
and I had to be carried down the mountain, and this was all in a 5-year period, and then my son and I got in a car accident, and that was, like, at the end. I had gone a full year of no bleeding, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm at the end," and then it started back up again, and then I'm like, "Okay, I'm not in menopause, I have a whole 'nother year to go." Um, it messes with you psychologically. I mean, you don't know what's going on, you feel isolated. It was a really rough time. And I'm trying to get all my nutrients back in check, and the one thing I found was that what I was getting the support I was getting from the medical team was not what I needed. I needed to go back to basics. I needed to reevaluate how I was living, what I was eating, what kind of sleeping patterns I had,
Mhm.
and that was when things started turning around for
To get
me.
better. Yeah. I'm curious though too, because from my working with women and also my work with my own womb and healing through a journey of polycystic ovarian syndrome and irregular cycles and not knowing, this kind of like state what you're speaking to, the not knowing, the unknown, is that oftentimes the things that come up in our wombs are not just physical. They are emotional, they are spiritual, they are mental. Uh, I find that our wombs tend to hold grief and hold unexpressed creativity and things that never came to fruition. And so there's like a grief there that comes through that. And I often hear when I hear about heavy bleeding is about the weeping womb. I don't know
Whoa, that is so cool.
if you've ever heard of that before. I
No,
don't
I
know if
have
it was something I don't know. One of my kind of spiritual gifts is being like a body intuitive. So there's oftentimes when I can hear things about a body part or what's going on and seeing the ties to the whole person and what's going on. And I was curious if there was something, whether your childbirth was there was something there, or if it unlocked a grief in there that hadn't been able to been expressed before, either in this lifetime or in another. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly all your beliefs, but I'm curious if there was a grief there too
Well,
that wasn't
there
necessary. Yeah.
was. I was sexually abused when I was a little girl at 10, but I never
Well,
correlated that to this.
well, and that's what I do. Like that's the work that I do is because we don't realize how much they are connected and how much our wombs, our bodies hold for us until we're ready to process it. And often childbirth is one of those seasons. It's a catalyst for another part of us, another part of our healing. I mean, how much have you grown as a human being since you've been a mom? I mean, I
Wow.
can't imagine
Leaps and
much more.
bounds, man. My kid's 20 and I'm
Yeah.
still growing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so I think sometimes when we bring another child into the earth, especially if there was something that happened to us when we were a child, that our womb is trying to get our attention. But we live in a world that ignores the womb, that
Yes,
shuts
we
the womb
do.
down, that removes the womb, that is just trying to talk to us. And that's what I'm here. That's what I'm trying to change is that, hey, actually, our wombs are communicating with us. They're our fifth vital sign. They're a direct communication to all the different facets of ourselves. And so, I hear your story and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I want other women to know and you to know that it wasn't your fault,
Yeah.
that there was the healthcare system has a very limited of tools that they're able to manage these things because I think we don't understand the complexities of what the womb is to a woman.
Right. I believe that 100%. You're making so much sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it is unfortunate, and I don't want people to go through what I went through, and it's, it's so scary.
It is. It is.
And you're stuck, you're isolated, you can't go anywhere, you have that fear of making a mess wherever you are. I know I would be frantic just to clean up. I mean,
Mhm.
the time of, changing out whatever it is I had in that bathroom and then finding I was, like, every 5 minutes, and it's something. One time, actually, I, drove myself to the ER,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Okay, I should probably call an ambulance, but what if they tell me it's just my cycle, no big deal?" I didn't trust that I knew that this was life-threatening, and I show up at the hospital, and I'm standing patiently behind this gentleman who's getting checked in, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I don't think I can stand here. I think I'm gonna pass out." And I got to the counter and she said, "You need to sign this." And I'm like, I can't. I don't think I
Mhm.
can hold a pen." And at that moment, man, they brought the wheelchair in to cart me into the ER room and
Yeah.
I blacked out. I was
Yep.
gone.
Yeah.
How I made it all the way to the hospital driving, it was very irresponsible of me, but I was so fearful that it wasn't. We live in a society that everything is tied financially. So,
Mhm.
can I afford a $30,000 ER? I mean, a
Mhm.
$30,000 ambulance ride? Because if they tell me, "Oh, no, this wasn't an emergency," I have to foot the bill. So we shouldn't live like that. We shouldn't live in this place where we have to second guess.
Mhm.
I don't know how many times I thought I would just pass out in the house. I would come
Mhm.
out, I would be white, I'd have to sit down, I'd have to breathe deeply, try to get my bearings and be like, "Oh my gosh, come on, push through it, push through it. You don't need to go to the hospital. You just need to push through." And how many times do we as women always say we need to push through?
Yes. And that is the compensation that we have had to make living in the world that wasn't built for us. I always talk about us. We're cyclical beings, operate on different cycles. Men operate on a solar cycle, which means that, their testosterone, they're every 24 hours,
I
can
mean, how
do. And
unfair is that? Every 24
well,
hours, man.
I actually don't look at it as unfair or not. Where it becomes unfair is that the world that we live in today was built on a solar system, and we are not solar beings. We are lunar beings. We have a different pattern. And so it is unfair from the sense of that we are trying to fit into with we're trying to fit into a world that was not made for us. And that forces us to push through. I spent 10 years in the military as an intelligence specialist. I
Wow.
was around men all the time. I had to ignore, I mean, I was on birth control because that was the only way I could cope with all the things that I was dealing with. And, I basically had to turn myself into a man in order to live in a man's world. We do that all the time, but
Yes, we
that's
do.
not the answer, because what that's doing is it's hurting our bodies. There's a reason why 80% of people with autoimmune conditions are women. There's a reason why infertility is on the rise, why reproductive emergencies like what you're talking about are on the rise, because our wombs, our bodies are can't take the pattern, the rhythm, the pace of which we are living. And so conversations like this make us aware that it is time we have to bring our essence to the table. We have to start creating businesses
Yes.
that are more on a rhythm base. We have to start supporting each other and advocating for ourselves and demanding that the healthcare workers hear us when we say that there is something wrong.
Yes. The answer's not you're going through the change.
Yeah.
How many
Well,
times have I heard that?
yeah, that's not that. I mean, yes, of course. Like if you're of a certain age, if you're, over the age of 45 and you're starting to experience cyclical changes, yeah, you're likely in perimenopause, which lasts 10 years, 7 to 10 years of a adaptation point. But it's not, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It doesn't have to be this thing as long as we start to see the changes, the transitions for what it is. And that is for us to come face to face. It's a great reckoning. Come face to face with the things that we have been people pleasing, that we have been expecting, pushing too hard or doing all of these things, not taking care of ourselves and addressing those things. So that way, when we get onto the other side and now we're in this other season of our life, we get to share the message that we were here to share.
So true.
hmm So, where are you now? I know that you obviously have done a great deal of work in your health. It sounds like that experience with your cycles was really a big interruption in your life. It impacted you immensely. W-
Yes.
What what was the next step? Like where was the point where you're like, I've had enough. I have to figure out my health.
That was after the car accident when I was stuck on the couch.
Mhm.
My son was driving, so I was the passenger and we ran into a wall on the freeway and my entire side of the car was smashed in and it was just me and the wall. Um, it hit me from a psychological point more than physical. I mean, I walked away. I had all my bones. I think I broke my little finger and that was
Mhm.
it. But I re-injured my knee because it, slammed into the dashboard. And it became this psychological thing. I could not be in a car. Uh, I could not be in a car. I freaked out. And if I saw somebody, because the other person was on the phone and he just drifted off the freeway, slammed into these barrels of water. A whole tidal wave came over us, completely covered our windshield. We couldn't see for a good many seconds and then ended up right on the wall. Um, that stuck on the couch, not able to move, depressed, was my aha moment. And, when I went to see the doctors, it was pain pills. Um, it was, antibiotics. It was prednisone. It was all these pills they just would pump into me and send me on my way. And I'm like, I have to take control of this. I have to make changes. And that's when I went back to going, wait a minute, what am I doing with my eating? And can I control this? Can I take back my health, my life by eating properly? And by doing that, fermentation became my answer. I'm a caterer. I've been a caterer for the last, I don't know, 20 years. And one thing that always amazed me is how much people freaked out over my food. They just thought it was so fresh and so, um, um, it had flavor in it,
Mhm.
and everyone was used to this food that didn't have any taste. And they'd be like, "Where did you get this carrot?" I say, "I got it from Joe Bob over there pulling out the carrots out of his off his farm," or, "I got the meat from my farmer down the road." I knew every person that provided my ingredients, and I
Mhm.
knew them. I could just call them on the phone, and they'd be like, "Hey, Michelle, what do you need today?" And I would give them my order. And I've always been that way. I mean, I grew up on a farm. I grew up and we only ate what we grew and raised. So we had chicken once a week and we had rabbit once a week and we ate our vegetables or we traded with neighbors. And that kind of dates me. I'm 59 and I have watched our food system go from that everybody had gardens back when I was a little girl to where we are today. It's very rare to come across somebody that's growing their own food. And on top of that, if you're not a homesteader, I'd be blown away if you only ate the food that you grew.
Mhm.
And, I found people loved going back to the catering aspect. I found people absolutely really enjoyed my food, and so I started fermenting because you can't eat the carrots, everything's seasonal, so you have to enjoy it in that season and then preserve it. And I didn't feel like canning was the right move because I felt that high heat processing took a lot of the flavor out of the food I was eating. So it was fermentation, and the fermentation became this special treat that all my clients got that didn't know what they were getting. It would be
Mhm.
just part of the food that I provided. I didn't list it in a menu. Oh, and you're going to get you're going to get kvass or you're going to get sauerkraut. Oh, no, it was just incorporated into it.
Mhm.
And I started doing off-grid events where, we would go to the forest because 'cause I'm a huge forest fan,
Mhm.
and, we would be in the forest for 3 to 4 days doing kinda like retreat stuff before there was really retreat stuff, before you really heard about retreats.
That's so
And
cool.
yeah, and so all my food needed to be fermented so I didn't have refrigeration and I didn't have running water. So what do? I use streams for my water. And part of what I was doing was teaching people how to ferment and they loved it. People loved that grounding feeling
Mhm.
of cutting a vegetable, mixing it with salt and putting it in water and the magic thought of what's going to happen in the end. And the funny thing is, these 3 and 4-day events, the conversation always turned to poop
Always.
because
I
they'd be
love
like,
it.
"Michelle, seriously, I've had the best poop ever. Is that because of your food? What is going on?" It's like mind blowing. And
Mhm.
that's always the conversation. And if I don't hear about poop, I think I've done something wrong, really. So,
Yes.
I was like, okay, I need to start logging this. And that's when I discovered the Bristol poop chart.
Mhm.
And I
Yep.
thought it was kind of an ugly picture. So I had my graphic artist uh make a poop chart, a Bristol poop chart for me. And now I've
That's
got a pretty
awesome.
poop chart, which was really funny to say, okay, I need you to design a poop chart. Here is an example of the Bristol poop chart, but let's make it pretty.
I know what you're talking about, right? That's something we use as a nurse, but I just think it's funny. Yeah, we need an update on that for sure, for sure. I would love for you to explain if a listener's like, okay, what is fermented food and why? Like, can you explain
That's a
that to us?
great question. All right, let's do, I think a lot of people get confused by what is fermented food. And in fact, sometimes I do classes and I'll hear, oh, I've got fermented food in the refrigerator. So I'll open the refrigerator. I'm like, where's your fermented food? Oh, it's this right here. I'm like, yeah, no, that's canned. That's not fermented. So fermented food is actually it's live food. It's food that's raw, that's that has microbes on it, and those microbes colonize in a jar if the environment is great. And when you can, the way to preserve it is through a high heat. But when you ferment, you preserve it through the salts. And the salt works with the microbes and stabilizes the food so that there are no bad bacteria growing. Our microbes are everywhere. And as everyone learned during COVID, man, they're on the counters, they're on your hands, they're in your mouth, they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I mean, yeah, there's
there was
argument that we are more microbe than human.
yes, we
I mean, we have
are.
way
We are
more
full
microbes in
eco.
our body and on our
Yeah,
body than we do of cells that are the human cells. Just
so
so you know,
true. And
we're mostly
people
microbe.
are flabbergasted when I say that.
Yeah.
We're a walking, living ecosystem and we've got to feed it.
Mm.
One thing that makes it really difficult for people to understand is where do these microbes come from? So w- I want to start with like the full ecosystem. I want to start with our soil. So microbes in the forest, if you look at the forest has no human interaction. It sustains itself, it grows, it decomposes, new life comes up. This all happens in the forest with no human in work. We don't have to do anything, right? So there is a way you can take indigenous microorganisms, which are the microorganisms in that area, and populate them and bring them back to your garden.
And
It's the
tell me
coolest
more
thing
about that.
ever.
Yeah, how do you do that?
So you cook some rice, like 2 cups of rice, put it
Like
in a
regular,
basket.
just
Yeah,
white rice?
yeah.
Okay.
2 cups, put it in a basket, take it out into the woods or the forest, anywhere you see some microbial activity. And when I say microbial activity, I mean like mycorrhizal strands. So mycelium strands, actually, not mycorrhizal. The mycelium strands is the beginning stages of before you have a mushroom. Those, that's where all the microbes live. And you can put that basket out for like 5 days. Make sure you cover it with something or the critters are going to eat it. It'll be a snack for them, right? And
Yep.
trust me, I've done that many times. Oh, I forgot the cover. So put a cover on it, go away, come back 5 days later, and you will have a full ecosystem with that rice. You take that basket of rice that now has this white lace over the top and it has a sweet smell. It is so pretty. And you bring it home and you mix it with some brown sugar and that shelf stabilizes the microbes. And then when you're ready to use them, it takes 1 part of that rice and brown sugar, 1 part to 1,000 parts water. And you put it in your garden. But before you do that, I'd recommend that you take some dirt, put it on a slide and look under a microscope and see
Hmm,
what kind of life forms you have.
interesting.
And then 3 days later, you only need to wait 3 days. The microbes colonize so fast. Within 3 days, go back and check your soil again, and you will see tons of life forms that you didn't see before. I mean, if you grab soil from the forest and hold it in your hand, there's more microbes in your hand than there are people on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's incredible. So what do microbes do? Why are they such a big deal? Well, they hold water in your garden. They feed nutrients to the trees and the bushes, the plants you're growing. And it's symbiotic, man. It all works together. And it's really important to keep that going. So now when you take that information and you look at our food system, we do monocropping. Monocropping is where you do a whole field of just corn.
Mm-hmm.
You use a columbine, you till that soil, you buy inputs, You buy compost, you put this stuff in your dirt, and then you grow corn and it lasts one season. And you do that over and over again. When you till that soil, you kill the microbes. You chop them all
Interesting.
up. It's
Hmm.
just tilled in there. Microbes love diversity. So
Hmm.
that's a magic word right there. I said microbes love diversity. Microbes in the soil love diversity, as is microbes in your belly love
Right.
diversity.
For a long time, I felt like my body was working against me because of years of irregular cycles with polycystic ovarian syndrome. My energy, emotions, and symptoms felt really unpredictable. But one of the things that truly changed my relationship with myself was starting to track my cycles consistently with the Cycles Journal. Just spending 5 minutes a day with my cycles journal helped me to realize these patterns aren't random, they are cyclical, like me. It's helped me to create a roadmap of self care so I could build deeper self trust and a more intentional way of living in a way that fits my busy schedule as a mom, farmer, and business owner. And what I love most about the Cycles Journal is that it's inclusive for anyone wanting to understand and follow their inner rhythms. Whether you're actively cycling, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, or simply wanting to get to know yourself more. If you want to try out the Cycles Journal, you can use my code Sacred Phoenix for 10% off. Just click the link in the episode description to get your copy today. Now, let's get back to the show. So one thing I hear and I observe is that we as humans have become very disconnected from our food sources.
Yes.
You were talking about growing up on a farm and, eating the things that you grew. I grew up a city girl. I grew up in Indianapolis. I did not, I was not connected in terms of my food sources, right? They came from the grocery store. That's how I grew up. Spent all my 20s in the military and my 30s, and then I fell in love with a little farm boy and I moved out here to rural Indiana.
Oh,
I
I
now
love
live
it.
I now live on a 6-acre farm in a log cabin that my partner built, and I have a garden, I have chickens, I have 3.5 acres of, uh, forest behind me with a stream, and it's beautiful. I've started I've started getting involved in my own food sources, growing. I'm very new at it, so I'm not very good at it. It takes time for me to figure it out. But I think the disconnect that we have from our food is also very reflective of the disconnect we have to our bodies. It's
Yes.
all like we just eat. We don't think about what we're eating. We don't think about where it comes from. We don't use our hands to get into the soil to have that connection. We're not, you know, going out and looking out for game. That's one of our food sources here is the wild game that's out here, and also the chickens that I raise, and so it's interesting when I've realized the changes in myself when I started connecting to my own food sources. And so I encourage people to start like looking at that and asking yourself, like, how connected am I to my food sources? And how is that impacting my health and the relationship I have with the food that I'm eating?
So true. And on that note, it's really interesting when you go out and you garden, you slow down.
Yes.
When you slow down, you start listening and you can start hearing what your body's trying to say to you.
Yes. It's amazing. I wasn't able to get a garden in last year and I felt the difference. Like I just for whatever reason there was lots of things, all right, that was going on in my life and I didn't have time because it is time consuming and
It
I work
is.
from home. I'm also a homesteader. I run like 3 businesses. Like I'm a busy person, but also I didn't take the time to make sure that my garden was ready to go last year and I missed all that planting and I felt it. I felt my summer was went very fast. I didn't take as much time to pause as I had in seasons past when I did tend to my garden, and I missed it. I missed it.
Are you gonna do it this year?
Absolutely. I'm already been looking out there. It's about like a 60 by 100 plot. And then I have another second plot that I put all my vines in, like all my squash and my pumpkins and all the things that will take over if I put them in my other garden. Um, but yeah, I've already been out there dreaming and figuring out, and now I'm like, okay, taking notes about what you're talking about,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
bringing the
Well,
soil
let me
and
talk a
putting it
little
in.
bit on that.
Yeah,
I think something that holds people back is they think it's gonna take a lot of work and it's gonna
mhm.
cost a lot of money.
It
And
definitely
that's where
costs a
this
lot of money. It's
indigenous
just
microorganisms
yeah.
come from. I don't buy inputs for my garden.
Mhm.
I don't buy soil, I compost, and my compost turns into soil. And there's no work. I just as I fill up a container, I toss it in my compost, and then um, I've got 3 composts that always go, one that's cooking, one that I'm filling, and one that's done. And I just move from one to one. And I think that's really important, and that's what I use to add to my soil. I don't buy anything extra that goes into the ground. I go capture my indigenous microorganism. One quart-sized jar will last you the entire season. If you have, like, let's say you've got 3 rows of 100 feet long,
Mhm.
that'll last you one entire season. It's so cheap, and you're not hurting the forest. There's nothing about the forest or the woods that will get damaged by you capturing some indigenous microorganisms.
As a matter of fact, they want you to use it. Like
Yes.
there is a part of that relationship there because you're also spreading that communication that they have. You're helping to contribute to the mycelium network.
Yeah.
Energetically speaking, I believe that we were meant to live in communion. That
Yes.
there's not, again, it's like that connection. They want that connection because what you are connected to, you protect.
Right. And yeah, they wanna colonize, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
And
it's
if they didn't wanna do that, they would not improve our soil, but they do. So, yeah, I think that that's really important. I think, you know, I learned how to slow down because I've been a beekeeper for 20 years. And one of the things with beekeeping that has to do with slowing down is you can't be fast when you're a beekeeper. Everything is slow movements. And um, one of my favorite things in beekeeping is to capture a swarm. And that's when the bees a new queen is created, the new queen stays in the hive, the old queen goes away with half the colony. And when they do that, they have a very high frequency. They emit the highest frequency of their life is they when they swarm.
Mhm.
And you as a bystander will know this if you're around a swarm, you hear a very loud noise. It's almost like a freight train coming through. That is the sound frequency that the bees are putting off. And when they are in their cluster, I don't wear a suit. They're at their most docile time when they're in a swarm. And I take my hands and I go into that swarm of bees and capture them and bring them down into a box. When I do this, first of all, the experience of the bees holding on to each other, their little legs, it's like monkeys in a barrel. Did you ever see that game?
Yeah,
They
of
all
course, yeah.
connect.
Oh, I played that game when I was a kid.
Well, when you're bringing these bees and putting them into a bucket, if you're slow, which is what they like, you're going to feel energy going from your fingers down to your toes, and you're part of that network. And it is mind
Mm,
blowing to experience that. I visualize it like a light running through my body. And when I handle a swarm of bees, I don't have pain for 2 weeks. I wake up the next day and there's no pain. It is incredible. And it's the high frequency that they're emitting. If I could capture a swarm every day, I would because it's
yeah.
that amazing. But it's part of slowing down and experiencing nature. You can also experience it when you're walking in the forest. Take your shoes off.
Mhm.
There was a study done in the 1700s by a guy named Camp. And what he said was you need to watch out for uh, bacteria. Bacteria is bad. Everything about bacteria is bad. We need to sterilize. And so he would he recommended we sterilize, man, everything. And yes, that taught us how to clean our hands. And we've saved a lot of lives that way. But not all bacteria is bad. What
Mhm.
we did was sterilize all the microbes off of us, all the microbes off our counters, all the microbes around us. And those microbes are just trying to help us. And this is a big leap, but I'm going to talk about those microbes are what heals our gut.
What people don't understand about microbes is that they are opportunistic, and we have to have we have like the good microbes and the bad microbes, and the good microbes keep the bad microbes in check so we don't get sick. But the problem is we sterilize everything or use antibacterial, we're killing all of them. And it turns out that they are opportunistic. And if they see a space where, like, oh, these good bacteria have been holding us kind of down a little bit and they see it, they're going to take it. And that's how you end up getting sick. That's how you end up having problems in your gut and everything. So, changing our perspective a little bit about microbes and seeing that not all microbes are bad. Yes, there are some that can
Right.
make us very sick, particularly when you go from poop to mouth, okay? Or
Yep.
poop to
Yep.
anything, eyeballs or anything like that, right? That
For
can make
sure.
you sick. And also, there's other microbes that we need to be feeding. And I can't wait to talk about this part next about taking care and feeding our microbes inside our bodies and helping us to change the perspective and say, maybe this is another part of our being that we need to be paying attention to.
Yes. And so a question I have, and I can't really ask you because you live on a homestead, but a question for everyone in the audience is when's the last time you spoke to a farmer?
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
you know where your food comes from? Because I'll tell you what, if you're buying food from the grocery store, regardless if it's organic or not, you don't know how that food's been treated. And you don't know, did they put chemicals on that food? Was it grown from a monocrop or was it grown in a symbiotic relationship with the rest of the plants growing around it? I mean, I don't grow in rows of vegetables. I companion plant because
Mhm.
they help each other out.
Mhm.
Those
I'm learning
microbes
about that.
keep
Yeah.
the bad bugs away. But if you've got a whole field of corn, the microbes can only do that they do the bare minimum because there's no diversity to help them. So when you go to purchase vegetables from a grocery store, yes, you can, and yes, there's some good microbes on there as well. It's just not going to be as strong and powerful as it is if you pull it out of the soil or you buy it from a farmer that's pulled it out of the soil. Keep
It is difficult, right? I always take a look and I say, "Okay, what can I do practically from here and now?" Because I know sometimes we can get really on ourselves and be like, "I know that I need to be doing all of these things." And it can feel really overwhelming, especially at the beginning. If you are in
Yes,
this place where you want to reconnect with the soil, you want to reconnect with our kind of divine feminine wisdom of the earth, right? Which is a very, strong, potent, creative energy that you want to do that, but you're like, where do I even start? And one of the things that you can do is just visiting your local farmer's market is a
yes,
start. It's a great place to start. That, yeah, there might only be a little bit of part of the year that you can do that, but start there
start.
and
Ask
have conversations with
questions.
people. Yeah, ask people.
Yeah,
Just start talking. Like, can we
right,
just
and
talk
do
like
baby
people?
steps. Yeah, do baby
Yes.
steps.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot to be said for starting with one thing, and Corey, I'm gonna tell you this, um, I am a lazy gardener.
Yeah.
It's not hard work for me in the
Yeah.
garden. I grow perennials. The
Mm.
majority of the food I grow is perennials.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Egyptian onions. The nickname is walking onions. So you grow them and they create these bulbs on the top that fall over, drop right into the ground, and then you make more onions. It's incredible. You know, your asparagus. I live by what's growing in the soil for that season. That is a great way to help your microbes. And then I mean, I do the vegetables, of course. I mean, my goal is to get 30 types of food for diversity eaten every week. And honestly, if you make a Buddha bowl, you could have 10 types of food, and we're talking vegetables, we're talking greens, we're talking seeds, we're talking nuts. All of those fit in this category. If you can get 30 in a week, you're giving your body diversity and our gut microbes. Different microbes live on different foods. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we can get a little party happening in our belly, everybody's happy. And let me tell you, it you might say gardening takes a lot of work. It's kind of scary to think about, but doing baby steps, starting small helps.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a great way to save money. Think about this, let's just say you go to a grocery store and you buy a head of cabbage and it costs $6. And if we look at our food supply right now, everything is 30% higher in cost. Uh, Compared to what it was when COVID started. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it has really jumped up, and we're not seeing the price drop yet. So, if you take a $6 head of cabbage, you can cut it up and make coleslaw and probably get about 20 servings out of that cabbage if you make coleslaw. But coleslaw um, goes bad within 3 days and has no nutritional value. In fact, it's higher fat and it's kind of blah. Take that same cabbage that you spent $6 on, slice it up, turn it into sauerkraut, and now you have 120 servings and it'll last for a year, at least a year. And when I say the servings 120, you don't need to eat as much sauerkraut as you would eat coleslaw. 1 teaspoon to 2 tablespoons is really all you need
Mm-hmm.
for a serving. And it's so refreshing and it builds energy and you're giving your body this fuel that it just makes you happy. I mean, I eat sauerkraut every single morning
I love
and it
sauerkraut.
just gives me
I put it on a
energy.
little avocado with some everything bagel seasoning. Like,
Oh,
I freaking love it. It's so
it's the
good.
best. It's the best. And when you make it yourself, you have control as what flavors you want in it. And you
Yeah.
can put anything in it, garlic and onions and seasonings, whatever you have. Nasturtium is really fun in sauerkraut.
Mm-hmm.
So um you can save a ton of money by growing your own food. Or, doing the baby steps, starting with buying an organic cabbage from the grocery store and turning it into sauerkraut.
Yeah, and then fermenting it
Great
at
way
home.
to start.
So tell us a little bit more about the benefits of eating fermented food regularly.
Well, there are so many benefits, man. It gives you energy. It decreases inflammation. It helps with your joints. It gives you lubrication in your joints. It helps with digestion, man. Your poops become absolutely beautiful. And I know we've already talked about poop, but I have to go there again because poop is really the best way to see what's going on in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, if you've got poop that's floating, you've got too much fat in your diet. You know this by reading my book. But if it has a color, what color is it? Is it brown? Is it light brown? What does it have a scent? Where does it fit on the Bristol chart? All of those are signals for you to then go and make your body better based on what results you have. And the microbes, how else does it heal you? A lot of people think right now, you hear everybody's got some sort of ailment, right? Everybody's got, maybe it's they can't eat nightshades or they can't, let's just talk food intolerances. They've got peanut allergies. They've got allergies for eggs. Most of the allergies in all the research I've done, it's not really the vegetable that you're eating. It's how that vegetable was processed, what it
Mm-hmm.
grew in, how it was processed, how it was cleaned, how they kept it to still look,
Stabilized. Yeah,
yeah, stabilized,
like
that's the word.
preservatives. It's the same thing
Yeah.
with gluten and wheat. I mean, there's people who
Yes.
will eat, say they're gluten intolerant and have issues here in the United States, and then they go overseas and they have bread over in Europe and they're like, "I can eat the bread over here. What is going on?" It's because of the stabilizers and the way that that wheat is processed into the
Yes.
flour. So it's not the flour itself. It's not what we're bringing from the earth itself. It's oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes it's how we're processing it and how it's made to stay on the shelf in a grocery store that we're having issues with.
Michael Pollan said this 30 years ago in a book called Omnivore's Dilemma. He said, "You vote with your fork 3 times a day." And 30 years ago, I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, I guess he's right. But look at it today. Look at where we are. Corporate America just listened to us. We wanted faster, cheaper,
Easier.
ready
Yep.
in 90 seconds.
Yep.
And corporate America just did what we asked. And they did that by watching what we eat. So, you know, there's a lot to be said. We can bring this back. We can control this. We just have to ask those questions. We have to be mindful as to what we're eating.
For my listeners who come here and talk a lot about cycles, like our menstrual cycles,
Uh-huh.
is the down effects of having regular fermented food and taking care of one's microbiome actually helps improve our hormones. We digest and metabolize our estrogen through our digestive system. I mean, that's how we get rid of used estrogen. And so if our liver is not doing very well because it's handling all the toxins and everything, it's not going to prioritize the metabolism of our estrogen. We're going to end up with estrogen dominance, which is when we get heavy periods, PMS, and migraines and having troubles with those. But also, once we use those estrogens, we've got to get them out of our body. And we have to do that through our poop. That's how we poop it out.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if we have if our microbiome, if our ecosystem inside of us is off because we're eating too many processed foods, we're eating too much sugar, we're not getting the right variety or diversity in our foods or the low quality of the vegetables that we are eating, or even not chewing well can also impact
Very
that.
true.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
So if that's happening, then we are not taking care of our hormones, and it's a cascade of effects that ends up impacting and worsening our perimenopause symptoms, our fertility, and everything else. So just be mindful that when you are adapting a well lifestyle as a woman, it is not just about moving more, eating less, or all this
Mhm.
trope that the wellness wants to talk about. It's like, no, let's actually take care of our bodies and realize that our microbiome is a part of that, and it is essential for us to care for our hormones through our microbiome as well.
So true. Oh my gosh. I couldn't have said it any better. That was beautiful. Corey, you're amazing.
Oh, you're amazing. We're having a great conversation here. I feel like this is so essential for women to hear about their health, that there's this whole other piece here, and it's energetic, right? Connecting with our foods, connecting with the soil, connecting with the things that we're eating. It's connecting with our microbiome, like even looking that as another entity, so to speak, that we get to care for, and that's a part of us. And when you look at it and you say, "Oh, they're trying to care for me and I need to also care for it," then you do create this relationship, and you can bring more love into yourself, so you feel better and you can go out and spread love out into the world.
So true. So true. It's amazing. And I found with the rhythm, um, eating fermented foods in your daily life, use it as a rhythm. I mean, I have a 2-week Gutsy Reset program that I offer. In fact, you can download it off my website. Um, and it is super easy. And not to overwhelm your listeners, you don't have to make this. You don't have to make the fermented foods. You could, even with the baby steps, you could start with raw sauerkraut, raw kimchi, and and start eating what you can get your hands on. You'll be amazed at how much better it tastes if you make it yourself.
Mhm.
But if you could at least start incorporating it, I recommend you eat your ferments 3 times a day. And what that does is that keeps a little bit of the microbes moving and happy before you eat the rest of your meal. And with that also, start off your day with warm water, lemon juice, and a pinch of salt. That gets your bile moving.
Mhm.
You do some movement. It doesn't have to be a lot. Go for a walk. Breathe deeply. Not this shallow breath that we get and we do a lot of. Really come into yourself. Give yourself that hug. Those deep breaths are amazing.
Mhm.
Belly laughs
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
sleep.
Yeah.
You have to give your body time to heal.
Mhm.
Sleeping is absolutely critical. I always say write in a journal and then go to sleep. Just give yourself that time. I think we have to give ourselves these hugs. We have to, we don't have any time because we're really busy, but when you reach menopause state, like I'm in, you, you come to your own. You're a little more, I wish I knew premenopause what I know now. I would have been a lot better to my body. I would have been a
Mm.
lot kinder. I think that we always put ourselves last.
Yep. Yeah, I talk about that a lot, about the fact that we grew up thinking that a good woman, a good mom, a good wife puts everyone else first, and that selflessness is righteousness.
Yeah.
And that sucks because
Yeah.
that's not true. We can't pour from empty cups. What ends up happening is we are pouring into everyone else, and we are taking and robbing from our bodies.
Yes.
Every single time. You cannot pour from an empty cup, so it's gotta come from somewhere, and it comes from your body, and your body, as gracious as she is going to take care of you until she breaks down, she can't do it anymore, and that's why we end up with so many of these issues. Yes, of course, there's genetic components. Yes, of course, environmental, lifestyle, right? We gotta change this up here, our
Yeah.
approach to it, what we're doing, and how
Yeah.
we're approaching our life. Exactly. We are bringing, because we are trying to keep up. We are living in a time when there is more demanded of us than ever, and what I'm seeing, that if we don't start putting on our oxygen masks on firsts, then we're not going to be able to bring the thing that we came here to bring in our soul and our purpose, or to be able to be the kind of person that we want to be with our families.
Right. It's not fun when you hurt. It's not
No.
fun when you feel sick.
No.
And if you're not having fun, how could people around you have fun?
Mhm.
It's really
Yeah.
important. And to put yourself first is to, put your family, put yourself first. But if you feed everyone good food, real food, whole food, that is that is a good start into helping everyone. And your body will so thank you. And how do you do that? How do you put yourself first, right? That's a really good question. And we need to breathe. We need to take time. We need to think about, stand outside. If that not at a garden, just in grass, and feel the earth underneath your feet. It heals you. Eat
Get the
that
sunlight.
food. Yes,
Be
yes.
out there, get your
Vitamin D.
feet on the ground,
Everybody's
and
depleted. Yeah,
yeah,
everybody's
I call it
depleted.
sunflowering, where you're like a sunflower and you find the sun and you literally just like
I love it.
I stand there with my feet and I imagine that I'm a sunflower just like looking up at the sun. And
That
it's a
is a
fun way.
beautiful
It's a fun
analogy.
little way to
Yeah,
do that, but
it
yeah. Oh, I'm
is.
just outside sunflowering,
Coin that term. That's awesome. I love
but
it.
it's so fun.
Yeah. And then for your food, start venturing out, finding out where the food comes from. When My son was in grade school. I would teach classes and I would come in as a guest speaker and I would talk about vegetables. I'd bring funky vegetables with me and kids had no idea what the food was. Educate yourself and your kids, your family on what kind of foods are out there. But there are hundreds of types of grains that you can have access to if you grow your own. And we have to start bringing that back. And we can do it one person at a time. Now, one thing that I'm excited about is I have this book called The Guts of Fermentation. And I look at it as the philosophy of this full ecosystem that Corey, you and I have been talking about. It's the full circle. And we're taking from the soil, we're growing, we're consuming and processing, and we're letting go and then putting that back into the soil again. So I have classes that you can sign up for to learn how to ferment because there's so many different fermenting options you can go. It's not just sauerkraut. I know we only talked about sauerkraut, but there are so many vegetables you can ferment. And what's cool about it is fermentation has been going on for 10,000 years. It's been going on forever. And you can look at our ancestors. They didn't have all the luxuries we have today. They didn't have refrigeration, but they still ate with the seasons.
Mm, yeah. I think there were so many amazing tips. And, as a listener, if you're really interested in learning a little bit more about fermentation, I was like, where do I even start? Grab Michelle's book. It's a great place to start. And I'll make sure that I include the link to that in the show description. So make sure to check that out. But it is important when you are on a wellness journey to get some different perspectives. This
Yeah.
is maybe not something that you hear about all the time, although I do feel like the gut health is gaining some traction. It also might be because my feed is like that.
Mine too.
Mine too, right? Like it's like periods and
Goddess, what
gut and
goddess is
nervous
there?
system. Yeah,
Yes.
and nervous system and goddesses, okay? Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. But I feel like we are starting this conversation and realizing that health is not just about looking good. It's not just about looking skinny. And when we take our mind away from that and we start actually looking at health as vibrancy, right? Living a vibrant life. I talk about that all the time on here. That when we are creating a vibrant life, that also includes all these other facets of us, including our gut, including our microbiome. So if you are maybe struggling with digestive issues or period issues, this could be a big part of it. And it's great to get a little education about it and just start experimenting. Try things out. Like, get curious. See, like, how would this affect me? How do I feel before I start this? And how do I feel afterwards? And is this something that I can sustain? Is this something that I want
Yes.
to do? And is it something that's actually helping me?
Beautiful advice and so correct.
If there was a woman, I know you've given her so much advice right here, but if there was a woman who is interested in this and wants to take a first baby step, what is that one baby step that she could do today to help take care of her gut microbiome?
Go to the store, purchase sauerkraut and kimchi, and eat 3 times a day. 1 teaspoon. Don't I mean, your body's gonna get attached to it and will love it, but I highly recommend not to ever eat, like, a cup of fermented foods. Your microbes are gonna be really gentle, and they're not gonna be used to having this raw food in your belly and the microbes working, doing their magic, and you build up to that 2 tablespoon, formula. And then do it 3 times a day and listen to your body and feel what's happening. We get messages. Our body gives us messages. We have to listen to those. It's telling us all the time what's going on. But if we don't listen, if we don't slow down and hear our body, we're going to miss those messages. Take it from me, I missed him
Mhm.
for years. I wasn't realizing everything was connected, and here Corey tells me years after I finished menopause that maybe it had to do with my childhood trauma. Well, that makes sense. I didn't even know that. Where were
Yeah.
you 15 years ago?
Oh, let's see.
So
I
I
was
think
on
that's really
deployment
important.
in the Middle East. I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't
That's
ready
okay.
yet. I wasn't listening back then. So, but that's okay. We all have our journeys, and hopefully with our messages today that we can help the women now that are listening now that are having challenges with their periods or having challenges with their digestive system, and they can see that food can be healing when we choose to engage with the kind that our body wants the most. And that's how you build that communication app. I have a little treat for you if you're open to it. Every time I bring a guest on, I do a little oracle card reading for them.
Oh, how
Oh,
fun.
I would love to know if I could pull a card for
Yes,
you.
please
Yay!
do.
Okay. Oh,
Wow,
wonderful.
this is fun.
You have been such a blessing here, Michelle. You've blessed us with your time and your expertise. I mean, it's very clear that you are so knowledgeable and passionate about what you teach, and I just want to also pour into you and give you something to remember today with as well. Oh, I love this. This is beautiful. So, the card I pulled for you today is called The Brothers of the Rose. This is about tapping into the sacred masculine energy and healing our energy to it, like our relation to it. This is an invitation to see that when our sometimes when our relationship with the masculine can be very challenging, and also the masculine within ourselves and outside of us. But when we allow ourselves to come into a healing space and see that that is meant to be a protective energy, not a squashing energy, then we step into right relation with that. So sometimes there can be the masculine can want to take over inside of us. So this is an invitation to bring that back into balance with feminine energy, or it can also be a invitation to step into a place of healing, perhaps with ancestral healing or things down the paternal line within yourself. And it's just this beautiful place to see that we have the capacity to hold both energies within us. And when we bring those into balance, then we truly feel whole and vibrant. So
Wow.
that's my reading for you today.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah, you're very, very welcome. I would love to tell our listeners what is the best way to get a hold of you or to connect with you if they want to reach out further.
So, my website is The Guts of Fermentation. And on that website, there is a 2-week Gutsy reset that you can download for free.
Okay.
You could also get my book if you wanted while you're there. Um, I am available via text, via my phone numbers on my website. Instagram is The Guts of Fermentation, and Facebook is The Guts of Fermentation. So you can find me that way, and I hope you do.
Wonderful. Yes. Yes, I encourage you to reach out to Michelle, connect with her, especially if you're like, what is this fermentation thing? She has a free course that you can download and check out, and ton of resources on her website. And of course, she would just love to hear if you're a new follower, reach out to her and say hello. Michelle, this has been an incredible conversation. I sure we could probably talk for hours
Yes.
more about the gut and about bringing our vibrant energy and our vibrant life through cultivating our guts and our microbiome health. So, but of course, everything like every season must come to an end. So,
Yes.
I
Yes.
would love to hear one last piece of advice or inspiration that you could leave with our guests so that they can too also rise into their vibrant life?
I would love to see fermentation turn into a movement, a way where people start coming back to their self, a way where um, we aren't outsourcing our food any longer. The conversation becomes where our food comes from and how we prepare it and what kind of interesting ferments we've made. And I just think that we need to talk about it and we need to
Hmm.
tie it to our health. Every time I hear somebody that's in pain, I think, gosh, I wonder if they just started eating fermented foods that things would change.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
truly believe they will. I mean, I'm a whole different person because I went back to my fermented foods. Come back to yourself and treat yourself well.
Yes, I think it's such a powerful message when you say that you've got the power. You have the power to change your health. You have the power to improve your family's health. And when you get curious and you start looking into other spaces, then and trying them out for yourself, being experimentative with your own health and getting curious, then that really does give you the tools that you need to create the most vibrant life that you can live. Yes, I'm celebrating you because you just finished another episode of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I'm so grateful that we got to spend this time together today. It's really been a blast. If this episode lit up your heart or sparked something inside your soul, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to rise too. Until next moon phase, remember, you are so worthy of living your most vibrant life. I'll see you next time.